So here's my first question. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're here with Tara Palmieri, longtime pal, excellent journalist, expert on the Epstein stuff, which is a rough beat to
Mhm.
have, but we appreciate that you're out there doing it. Um, do you think that it's like getting a more fair shake now because younger people are in powers and they're not afraid? Because like millennials aren't on the list, man. Like
Yeah.
it's all boomers and older Gen X people who were alive and doing the bad stuff at that time. And now you have, the House Oversight Committee representative who's a millennial and he's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, put it all out. Get everybody, whatever.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right because this is like I've said, this is a scandal that affects both parties.
Hmm.
And it's the older generation, it's the good old boys club, the ones who thought they could get away with, this kind of behavior for so long. And I think that there's a part even of the Democratic Party that's sort of like, let's clean out the warts, get rid of these like the cobwebs, let's do this. And that's why you're seeing that from leaders like Ro Khanna, Eric
Mm-hmm.
Swalwell, the younger ones. I mean, believe me, and you would know this just from looking at even Virginia Giuffre's depositions, the names that have been revealed, George Mitchell, Bill Richardson. These are prominent Democrats. I mean, they're dead now, but Bill Richardson was critical in brokering, so many deals, international deals for the Clinton administration.
Hmm.
Senator Mitchell was from Maine. He's a Democrat. And so these are just a few of the many names that are associated with the Democratic Party that have been brought into this. And I always say we have to always remember that President Trump was a Democrat then.
Yeah.
He was giving money to Hillary Clinton and Schumer and in the 90s and the
Yeah.
80s.
Palling around New York City.
Right. And also, the culture was really was this is way pre Me Too.
Mhm.
Maybe not definitely a period of time when women were starting to ascend in the workplace, but people were unsure to how to deal with them. But so it's so obvious that these young girls that came from, mostly disadvantaged backgrounds, they weren't seen as people. They were seen as party favors. I mean, that was what Virginia Giuffre said. She was passed around like a fruit platter, and she's the survivor that accused Prince Andrew of sexual assault. And the Crown, in a historic settlement, paid her millions and millions of dollars for that.
Yeah. It had to
She's
be
just,
serious enough for him to not be a working royal anymore. I mean, the royals can clean up
yeah.
anything. They couldn't clean this up because it happened. And you know,
um,
I
It's
want to
hard
talk
to
about New
refute
York.
photographic evidence. Like, what is a man doing with a 16-year-old girl in a picture? I mean, I always say this to people, it's somebody else's kid. This is somebody else's kid. And it's hard for some people to understand that. But yeah, I think there's only a very small percentage of America doesn't get that. I think for the most do, but a very small percentage still chooses to look away.
Well, one of the things I want to bring up, because I worked in New York City in hospitality and restaurants from like 2002 to like 2013. And that is like a prime time for pre phones, right? So there weren't like phone cameras and there's still a lot of like shenanigan shit going on. And when Donald Trump says things like Mar-a-Lago was just different in the 90s, New York City was different in the 90s, I feel like I know what he's talking about because when we would open a restaurant or we would do a special event, they would call to get models, they called them,
Right.
to work, right? And so it was like everything was always a facade. Everything was like, oh, will there be girls there? A new club is opening. They're going to hire a bunch of girls to be there to make it
I
really
think it's
fun.
still like it's like that now. I hope that they've cleaned up the modeling agent, like the modeling industry.
Back then it was scary because it was like some of the girls you would get and you'd be like, okay, that seems like a girl who is like an NYU student or someone like my age who's
Yeah.
just like coming because it's like a gig. And then other people were not. Other people were, a little bit more on the sex worker side of things.
Yeah, it's hard to say sometimes with the modeling industry. I remember, well, first of all, Epstein had a modeling agency, MC
Hmm.
Squared, with Jean-Luc Brunel. His partner died in a prison in France, mysteriously hung. Okay, it sounds a little,
Mm.
President Trump had a modeling agency as well. So did his ambassador Paolo Zampoli. It was like, if you want to have women around you, get a modeling
Mhm.
agency, have a beauty, beauty
Yep.
industry. So I think what was Miss Universe, Trump Universe was
Uh-huh.
the beauty contest.
Miss
I find,
USA. Yeah,
yeah, Miss USA. I think it's all creepy.
it is
But
creepy.
yeah, it creeps me out. And listen, like some women, some women are coming from places around the world, and they find that they can leave whatever
Yeah,
situation they're in,
poverty or
poverty.
abuse or
Yeah,
lack of
this might be their
opportunity. Yeah.
right. But sometimes when they end up in the U.S., they don't have their passports anymore. They're living in
Hmm.
these insane conditions. They're sort of a victim to the circumstance, the risk they took. And they're young and they're powerless. I mean, I wouldn't say unless you are a supermodel. And I think with a lot of these women that supermodels, they tend to have some sort of connections in the industry, famous parents. Somebody's looking out for them, right? I remember there was a woman that I know well, and she's in Palm Beach, and she told me that, she would help girls that came from prominent families who wanted to be models, because, she would make sure that they didn't end up in the same lane as the other girls, which would often lead to sex working.
Hmm.
And so I found this to be a little gross. Like, okay, sorry, let's help the rich girls so they don't end up turning into sex workers, but
Hmm.
let's leave the rest of them to fend for themselves in an industry that's extraordinarily exploitative. And hopefully that's changed. I think we could do a really big deep dive on it. I find it
Just the hospitality connections between Epstein.
oh
I mean, his chef, Adam Perry Lang, going from
yeah.
Epstein to Mario Batali. Like, could you have any more of a fucking direct, gross connection and then be like, oh, I don't know anything? Like,
Oh, he spoke about it. He's like, I had a wealthy client in New Mexico who taught me how to barbecue. And that's how he became a barbecue chef. And that's his story. Like, that is the story he tells people when he goes on Jimmy Kimmel, his best friend's show, when he
you
goes
know,
on TV and he talks about it. His books, he has restaurants all over the place. Well, he used to have APL, but it closed down. I actually went there with Virginia Giuffre because she was like, we think that he could be like she believed that he could be a really valuable witness for her because he was there at the
yep.
height of the sex trafficking. When you look at those flight logs, you see AL, Adam Perry Lang, or APL all over the flight logs, and you see
Mhm.
her name there too. So how is he not a valuable witness in her case? And he just wouldn't give her a deposition. I don't understand why.
Why?
I think he didn't want to seem complicit, but I think what did we call that episode? We called it the enablers. The
Right.
people that just look away. And so I was really disheartened by that. She literally wrote him. Sorry, I'm gonna grab my charger because I might run out of juice.
Oh, yeah,
But
no problem.
yeah,
This is the joys of life.
the joys, the joys of lives.
I know. The Adam Perry Lang thing fucked me up because, like, having come from that world, it's such a toxic, cutthroat, difficult world. You know
Oh,
what you're seeing and what you're not seeing, and you know that you do have the power to choose to not do stuff. And when you do
right.
do stuff, you know, you're responsible for what happens to those girls, whether it's your waitresses or the people passing or your bartenders or whoever it is, or in this case, the girls who were underage or being taken advantage of in these venues that he was chefing at. Like, chef means chief, brother. You were in charge. You should have helped them.
Yeah, I agree. It's reminding me of when I was younger. I worked in restaurants too, like everybody does.
Yeah,
But when I was, like, really young, I was, like, 14, and I used to box, pizzas at a place called Anthony Franco's because I'm an Italian girl from Jersey, so that's what you do, and and I just remember, like, I would literally just have to, like, move my body to avoid the delivery boys from trying to grab my butt the whole time, and I'm like,
yeah.
"What a shitty situation to be in as a 14-year-old." Like, it wasn't like I was obviously, it didn't extend past that, but it's just
It was
why
the
do we have to
culture.
live in that world? What was the guy who owned the place? What was he doing about it? He should have been like, "Don't fucking touch her. She works
Mhm.
here." But
Yeah.
I can only imagine what you've seen, and what you've been through. But yeah, this is kind of
I quit a lot of jobs. I mean, that's the thing. You end up quitting a lot of jobs because you're like, this is toxic or crazy or I can't handle it.
mhm,
There was one place I worked for that filmed a reality show in it because it was so crazy. It was called The A-List, and it was about
mhm,
older gay men dating younger gay men in New York City. It had one season on Logo, and most of it was filmed between Almond Restaurant, which was Jason Weiner, Anthony Weiner's
yes,
brother's restaurant.
I've been there. Yeah,
Yep. So I was there. That's where I, like, came up. and Fire Island. And it's like that was crazy. And it was a television show. And it was like deep talking about all of these like Playboy older gay men and the way that they were like using their money to manipulate young gay guys in New York City. And that was entertainment in early 2000s. Like just the culture was absolutely insane.
It was, and I even think of, like, Britney Spears and, like,
Yeah.
and Christina Aguilera, and they're all like, "We're pure Catholic schoolgirls," and
Yeah.
what was the other one? God, Jessica Simpson was like,
Jessica
"I had a
Simpson.
big cross," like,
Yeah.
Jesus, but, like, and it's like,
Everything.
kind of what kind of, messaging are you sending to girls and young women? And, like, listen, there's nothing wrong with this sexuality, but it's just such a mixed message. It's like,
Mhm.
be cute and little and sweet and innocent for men,
Right.
while being a girl. I love spending time with this generation of women, the ones that are coming up right now, the Gen Z. Like, I think
Mhm.
they're fucking rock stars. They
They don't put up with shit.
they
They
don't
put
put
up
up
with
with
nothing.
shit. They are
I like
like,
to think we had a hand in that though, as like the millennial big sisters to be like, no,
yeah,
not we're not doing this anymore. We're not letting this happen to another round of girls.
yes,
Like, I
yes.
can't.
I agree. I feel that way.
It wasn't just in hospitality though. It's also in the music and in that elite world. This really is like an expose of elites and of people who control power in art and music and all these different things. My wife, classical cellist, went to Tanglewood, not Interlochen,
Mhm.
went to Eastman School of Music. And she will say she feels incredibly lucky that bad stuff didn't happen to her because she's got to be the only one of everyone she knows that bad stuff didn't happen to. And the notoriety of this idea of like these rich older men wanting to keep a songbird, like, oh, you're a prodigy cellist as a child. I'm going to become your patron. So when you turn 18, you perform for me. You belong to me. I control your career.
That was that was very much part of the Epstein Glenn Maxwell playbook. They would go to Interlaken and they would try to find ballerinas and artists, and they would say, "Well, we're just a wealthy older couple, and
Hmm.
we never had kids, so we want to sponsor you because you're so special." And
Right.
anyone who's ambitious and maybe they don't come from means and they don't have the ability, their parents are struggling to even support their talents,
Hmm.
they look at this and they're like, "Oh my god, I've been saved." I mean, that's
And
not
their teachers tell them, yes, get a patron. This is how the industry works. And it's like,
well, what is the cost of a patron?
mhm.
Yeah. I
There was
agree.
that girl who went to NYU who was a cello player that Epstein pulled the money back from when she wouldn't meet with, I think it was Prince Andrew. Her name was Melissa Solomon, something
Oh,
like that.
I don't know that. That's interesting.
She only did like, she only talked I think it's because nothing happened to her that her story didn't go that much further, but he basically recruited her from Interlochen. She did one story, I think it was with New York Magazine, about how he then wanted her at Juilliard so that she would be near him. And then he was like, okay, well, it's time to like meet people. And she didn't. And he pulled her tuition in her junior year. And she was able to work with the school to stay in the school, but it was like deeply traumatic and sort of, indicative of what this man did, the way he would get you sort of like completely indebted to him and then try to like make you do horrible things against your will because you owed him or to keep the life up, or you get close to the dream but not quite and then he'd pull it back again. And
Oh,
so it was
it's
just that,
extraordinarily manipulative. And even in the high school where the Palm Beach girls, the girls that were really, really like destitute, the
yeah,
ones getting $300 to bring their friends.
yeah,
And these are $300 was probably more than their fathers made in a week.
right.
Um, he would, like, pit them against each other. He would make them wish he would say, "I'm saving you from the police who wanna speak to you. They're coming for you because you're a child prostitute."
Ugh,
You know what I mean? And he was extraordinary manipulative. I mean, they're children, like, come on,
yep,
what teenage girl is not cannot be easily manipulated? I mean, if
sure.
that's not the entire premise of the movie Mean Girls, I mean, what isn't? And it's like,
Mm.
ugh, it is it's incredible, what they were able to pull off and to how many victims? 1,000?
Thousands,
That's the end.
thousands. Like,
That
that's
yeah,
crazy. It's so big. And you've been on the front lines of really like helping break this open and keeping it
yeah,
alive. You have a story out, I think yesterday you posted it about
mm,
Katie Johnson, the girl that they say doesn't exist.
right. Yeah,
What's that
exactly.
about?
So she was the Jane Doe, Katie Johnson's not her real name, by the way, but
Right.
she chose that pseudonym. But she's the Jane Doe who came forward before the 2016 election, and she accused President Trump of raping her in Jeffrey Epstein's townhouse when she was 13 years old.
Mm.
She said that he pinned her down, that he told her that if you say anything, I'll come after you and your family. And, she came forward right before the election. She filed 3 times. The first time the judges dismissed it, but then she tried to file again and again. She was supposed to do a press conference just a day or two before the election, but then she just went dark, completely went away. Her lawyer, one of her lawyers said she'd been receiving threats.
Oh yeah.
And so everyone's sort of like, I would just keep getting messages from, the red letter community, Tara Palmieri show, and they're like, you had to find Katie Johnson, Katie Johnson,
Mm.
Katie Johnson. And I've gotten leads, but the truth is that I really feel like this woman went underground for a reason, and I'm not going to bind her and
Sure.
arrest.
Yeah.
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 Like, if she wants to come forward, like, I'm here. There are a ton of other journalists there. I know that would be happy to speak to her. But I spoke to one of her lawyers, and when he explained to me the vetting process, and that he said to her, I have no doubt in my mind that she told the truth, that they flew her in from California. They spent multiple days vetting her. They even hired private investigators to retrace her story.
Mm.
And, he said that he doesn't even know if she's alive. I mean, he hopes
Mm.
she is, but he doesn't know. And, it was interesting for me to hear that, because in the mainstream media, they pretty much like disregard this story. Like, I was listening to CNN, and they're like, there have been no accusations or allegations against President Trump. It's like, no, there have been. He
Mhm.
denied it. She dropped the case. Her lawyer says that she was dealing with threats.
Mhm.
There were allegations. They were denied, but there were allegations. Also, I had Michael Cohen on my show. You
Right.
can check that out on YouTube, The Terrible Mary Show, or Spotify, Apple, whatever. And he was explaining to me that they had a case before the election, and it sounded exactly like this, because there's only one case that came forward. Remember, this is 2016. This is 3 years before Epstein was arrested in 2019, and the world really understood the full extent of the crimes, thanks to Julie
Mhm.
K. Brown. So her coming forward and telling a story about President Trump in connection to Epstein was kind of one of the
Brand
first.
new.
Brand new. Yeah, she was kind of breaking silence. And I asked Michael about it, and he was like, yeah, I talked to Trump. He said it was bullshit and take care of it. So I handled it. And so what does he do? He sends private investigators to try to find the address that's listed on the lawsuit. But, like, obviously, if you're a Jane Doe, you're not going to put your address, right?
Right.
Because otherwise, why not just use your real name? You're basically revealing your identity. And it led him to a parking lot in the Bronx. Some would argue that using private investigators is a form of intimidation. I mean, Jane Doe 1, Courtney Wild, told me that when she was trying to file the Crime Victims' Rights Act against Jeffrey Epstein, he hired PIs, and they
Sure.
literally ran her off the road.
Mhm.
So this is what, Michael said, that it was a bullshit story, and that the lawyer said he had never met her. Now, maybe the lawyer that he spoke to said he had never met her, because she had so many lawyers. But the
Mhm.
one I spoke to, the one Cheney, Mason, and obviously Lisa Bloom, they'd all met her and they knew her. And I'm still trying to figure out what he's talking about, whether it's even true. But I do find it to be interesting, because, like, usually we just don't know the circumstances around this. I think there's still so many mysteries involving this case.
I take Michael Cohen one story at a time, right? Like sometimes I'm like, okay, that seems very true. And other times I feel like, are you still worried that you could go back to jail if you were to be brought up in this case as like a witness intimidator or something? So sometimes I'm like, okay, yay, Michael Cohen. Other times I'm like, all right, well, we'll take that one with a grain of salt and see where we go with
Yeah,
it, But with everyone,
I don't know. I don't feel that way about everyone, actually. I
no?
don't feel like I'm not a pick and choose. When I hear you talk, I'm not like, I'm going to believe V today, but not tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm
Credi-
trying to be nice.
You
I
you have
don't
your
find him to be a reliable narrator. So
yeah,
sometimes I'm
you
like,
have your
eh,
credibility. That is all
yeah,
you have. This is a trust business. That is
right.
all we have, is our trust, is our credibility,
Yeah.
is telling the truth, or the closest version of the truth as we try to get down to it. So
His
I don't
redemption
feel that way.
arc has been a little, it is what it is. I feel completely separate from it. I've never interviewed him. I have no intention to.
Yeah.
But it's like some of it I'm like, okay.
My ears perked up, because I saw him on MSNBC talking about
Yeah.
the Epstein case, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, when Trump says it's bullshit, it's like it's not true. He never would have done that. I just know." And I was like, thinking to myself, like, well, how does he know? And
Yeah.
the hosts on MSNBC, they never asked any
They never
follow-up
pushed back.
questions.
Yeah.
I was like, I think the first question would be like, well, how do you know that?
Right.
You know? And it was just. it was just like, okay, let him say what he wants to say. And I get that people want to like lionize him as a resistance hero, but I still think this person knows a lot about what happened
Yeah.
in a variety of different scenarios. And maybe he's afraid for his safety, or maybe he's afraid of speaking out because he would know, being the fixer, what happens when you cross President Trump. Um,
I
but
know.
that doesn't mean you should like bang the drum and say, I'm like, I don't
It
know.
felt like he was covering for I watched that MSNBC and I was like, "Mm,
You got the
mm."
same feeling, right?
Yeah, where I was like, "Ooh," because you were with him at that time, are you worried that if this does go forward, you'll be included as somebody who intimidated the witness, even though you've gotten this redemption arc right now, so it benefits him to shut that story off as well? And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I don't love that. I don't like that," but, you know,
I'm listen, I'm being an investigative journalist, I'm just like, something doesn't smell right.
yeah,
Being
it's not
empathetic.
right.
It's like, what's going on here?
Uh, Speaking of not right, I was also really impressed with your story about Lisa Murkowski's ties to Epstein
Oh,
and what went on in Alaska. Can you tell folks a little bit about that?
it's a little bit tangled and
Yeah,
convoluted, but as some of you may remember, it happened on the same day that Charlie Kirk died. So if you don't remember,
got lost. Yeah.
okay, it was a big day. But Lisa Murkowski was the deciding vote to not release the Epstein files. This was something that Chuck Schumer put forward, and she decided against releasing the Epstein files. And one of the survivors, Marika Chartuni, who I've had on my show too, she is just one that, like, when she's trying to figure things out and like just needing to feel the power in this story that can make people feel very powerless, she turns to investigations and research because
Mm,
more information is power. I believe that for all of us, and we should
sure.
think about that as humans. We always question sources, always keep looking. So she's from Alaska, and she was like, "This really hit steep for me." And she started digging, and she found that there are a lot of connections between Lisa Murkowski and Ghislaine Maxwell through a very wealthy donor that she has, and the owner of the Alaska Dispatch, and
Mm.
Ghislaine Maxwell's husband, Scott Borgeson. You're going to say, Ghislaine Maxwell has a
She's
husband?
married?
Yes, she has been married.
Oh,
Yes.
boy.
Yeah, she's been married for a while. And
Mhm.
she met this guy at a conference that Lisa Murkowski also spoke at. That was arranged by this donor that she's very close with, that they're both close with. So close with that Glenn flew around on the Cessna with this donor. Her name is Alice Rogoff. She was married to David Rubenstein. These names
Ooh,
might mean something to some of you, and they may not mean much to others.
yeah, David Rubenstein's name is on a lot of buildings in DC, right?
Exactly. He's a very wealthy man. He's a hedge fund guy, I believe.
Yeah.
So
Art collector also, art
yes.
investor. Mm,
So just for a little bit more detail on all of this. So Lisa Murkowski and Scott Borgeson first link up, according to at least like records that we could find online, in 2009.
mm,
Because um, so Scott Borgeson is in the maritime trade industry. He has a company called Cargo Metrics LLC. Okay. And he's very invested in the Arctic, where he
mm,
does trade and he does data collection of trade in the Arctic. Lisa Murkowski wants to expand Alaska's reach in the Arctic,
mhm,
claim more area that can expand the US territory. It's something that she has been pushing for a long time, to ratify the Law of the Sea Treaty. That is what she has wanted for a very long time. So there's at least one article where they are testifying before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Scott Borgeson is brought on as an expert in this industry on the Arctic. They continue to be at events like the Senate, like the Council of Foreign Relations, very prestigious, in
mhm.
small panels together. Alice Rogoff, the woman who I mentioned, the donor to Lisa Murkowski, listen, Alaska's like this big, okay?
Yeah, sure.
It's tiny. So she makes this group, a nonprofit called the Arctic Circle, and it's all about preserving the Arctic and expanding Alaska's reach within the Arctic,
I
right?
bet she thinks she fucking nailed it on that naming too. She was like,
Yeah.
"We're gonna call it the Arctic."
The Arctic Circle. Yeah. So the Arctic Circle. And at the same time, Ghislaine Maxwell is conveniently laundering her reputation, which has been destroyed because of her association with Jeffrey Epstein and the horrors that are coming out,
Yeah.
by creating a sea preservation nonprofit called Terra Mar, because the worst thing in the world is for poor little fish, which doesn't think about humans. Isn't the irony in that? Like,
The little fish. Mhm.
yeah, exactly. So they're all on the sea circuit together. She meets Scott Borgeson at the inaugural Arctic Circle event. He's a married father of two. No longer once he meets Glenn. There's even a picture of them together at the event, just having met smiles.
Oh God.
That one, Lisa Murkowski beamed into, but the next year, 2014, they all spoke at this.
Hmm.
And there are a number of events, and it's very clear that they're all in. And Scott Borgeson and Glenn Maxwell from that. Sorry, Scott Borgeson and Lisa Murkowski from that point forward continue to participate in these Arctic events together in Reykjavik, etc. So, yeah, she had a really close connection to Glenn Maxwell, and I think before taking that vote, it probably should have been disclosed at the very
Sure.
least. That's
Yeah.
my take. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that this is that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair, especially for the fact that she constantly also tries to pretend like she's a protector of women and she cares so much about women. And she's
Mm.
like, I am a woman in a position of power and all of this. And so to come out and vote no on the Epstein thing, it was odd. It's just an oddity. Like, what woman votes no on the Epstein files? Why do you even care? Like, you should want other women to get the justice they deserve. And like, you're not in it. You didn't rape anybody. So like, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you want that to come out? And so I think that this connection was
Unless
very odd.
there's Alice Rogoff is in it,
Sure.
or
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 like your
the
donors or something are in, but I'm like, that I just think it made it very obvious that something was weird with that. And like you said, Alaska is small, but I mean, the thing, so on the other side of it, to come off the Republicans for a hot second and their involvement, there's also this undeniable continued tether between Ghislaine Maxwell and the Clintons, which went
yeah,
on after. Where, like, yes, she was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. So were 560 people, but like, she was there. She was
she's
seated on the
also
aisle.
yeah.
Look, that was a tight guest list, okay? You would have had to get Secret Service clearance to be that close to everybody here. So, like, obviously they knew she was on, like, she didn't sneak in. Like, what's the deal with that? And is it like, I don't know, so much of this is weird and so much of it
She
probably
was
could
an
have been
honored guest at
avoided.
sorry to cut you off. She was an honored guest at the Clinton Global Initiative after Epstein's arrest as well.
Fucking A, Tara. Come
And you
on.
and you can see in emails that have been released that she and Epstein were very close.
Of
And
course.
yeah, and she kept saying like, "I feel shame. What should I do?" And he said, "Hold your head high. You've done nothing wrong." It's
Oh,
like,
of
"Oh yeah,
course.
you've done nothing wrong. You've just run into it."
Please.
Yeah, no, this is so I wrote a piece for Politico called The Women Who Enabled Jeffrey Epstein, and it's like a
Mm,
long magazine piece. And the last part of it is about women, society women who allowed him to come back into society after he went to prison for being a sex offender, for procuring a minor for prostitution. And to me, they laundered his name, the name of a
mhm.
sex offender. And you know, I I just feel like that was all that those two could think about was how to restore themselves so that they can get back into their chummy circles again. And then actually it was really easy. It was really easy to get to hang out with Bill Gates again. It was
Yeah.
really easy to get to hang out with Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. Turns out they don't give an F about what you went to prison for.
Because it's elite versus, like, regular people. I mean, that's the problem we even have in politics. It's not even a right versus left situation anymore. It's power and people who don't have power, and how are you gonna, mess with that? If we could just get that together, it'd be in a lot better situation. But in these circles, taboo is not taboo to them. That's like, if so Epstein was doing all the weird stuff he was doing, then you had all of the people who were, like, super closeted, having all of these massive orgies, sex affairs in New York also, while then voting against gay marriage. Like, there is a certain level of power that people reach. And then once they've seen Into the Machine and been included to the cocktail party, they don't want to not be included again because oftentimes somebody's got blackmail on them and their weird little freak kink that they have in the world. And it's like, so I get why they all keep each other together, but the gerontocracy is killing us, man. You all stayed in power for so long that your secrets are now finally coming out because there's a younger group of people, at least, who don't have the same secrets. I mean, I'm sure millennials have shit that they did that will come out later, but like, it's
Yeah.
maddening. It's maddening every day.
It's at least it's a little bit more out in the open with the millennials,
Yeah.
I think.
We didn't have
But
any
it's not
money.
like
What were we
I
gonna do? You're gonna find out like one of us did blow in a bathroom one time? Like, okay, like that was about as bad as it ever got for anybody. We didn't have
Yeah,
any money or power or lake houses, and all of the boomer era people were still in power and still making all the decisions. So I think in some ways, maybe their lust for power and money will maybe be their undoing in the end, at least hopefully. Do you think the Epstein files will come out? Do you think that people still care a lot about it?
sadly, I think the Trump will veto it, but even if he didn't, the DOJ is just not an honest actor. Certainly
Yeah,
not in this administration. They've never been good at self-policing, and
yeah,
I don't think that they will. If they do, it'll just be what you see, like what you see on the Epstein vault on the FBI. It's just redactions, 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 blank pages. So that's I know I'm a cynic, but I actually think if things are going to come out, it's going to be because of leaks. It's going to be
yeah.
because of victims who finally feel comfortable about coming forward. And yeah,
What
that's
about
what
the Epstein estate? Because Mark, the brother, is seemingly like, here's the birthday book. Like, do you think that the
he
estate
had
would do it?
to. He was subpoenaed.
Yeah, but do you
He had
think
to.
that that's a better avenue than trying to go the
I think
congressional
if
way?
the
Or
Democrats have power, they're going to have subpoena power. And I
yeah,
don't think you can F with subpoena power, right?
right.
Will they call the Clintons though? Will they demand that
Oh, they should. Why
they
not?
should?
Just get it over with. I feel like Hillary would come and get it over with. That bitch just stood up against a whole lot of stuff, right?
I don't
At
know.
the,
It's
at
pretty
the
gross.
It's so disgusting, but I think if she got called in, she would handle it and have to do it. And like, sure, you should have to do it. She did that debate with all of the women that had allegations against her husband when she debated Trump for president. Remember, Trump sat like all the women who accused her very own husband of impropriety in the front row there. Like,
Yeah,
if she's
she's used to it.
look,
Uh,
man, you've been in power for so long, you got to do it. You got to come in and you got to tell the truth, and it probably is going to suck, and it's probably going to be gross and bad, and you have to do it. That's what I think. I wouldn't.
no,
I
you're
don't love
right, but I
anybody.
don't know if that actually happens. So,
If it would actually happen,
mhm.
I wonder. Yeah.
Aw, you're like, I hope people do the right thing.
I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm like, would Chelsea do the right thing? No. Not that she would do the wrong thing, but she's not like a figure that's gonna like push her parents to like testify or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have.
A lot of these people who were involved in the Epstein stuff, unfortunately, are dead and will face no justice. A lot of the victims, like we've seen, have either decided like it's too painful. We've tried so many times, and like, how many times can you spend your one precious life like continuing to put yourself through the hell that we saw them go through on the steps of the Capitol? They're just incredibly brave. They're coming back, I heard, to talk more about it. But like, I worry that folks will lose interest, or that they were waiting for some list to come out that was going to be like everyone that the either every Republican we ever hated and they would go to jail and it would finally work, or every Democrat you think is good is like actually bad and they would go to jail. And I don't know that there will be the accountability that these women deserve. And that sucks.
Yeah, I don't think. I think the accountability will come through the drip, drip, drip
Yeah.
of whistleblowers. That's what we need right now. But who
Hmm.
knows? I mean, every time the Epstein estate drops something new, there are new leaks. It just keeps the story alive,
Yeah.
and it's a reminder that of how far we still have to go.
Has there ever been anything like this in American history or world history? I don't, I think the Epstein thing is like so uniquely horrifying. I can't ever compare it to anything.
I think also the fact that the Justice Department is so deeply involved in the injustice, I think that's
Mhm.
part of it as well. And there may have been, connections to intelligence. And he was obviously multiple times in his career that we know an informant
Yeah.
on various cases. And it goes kind of back to the Whitey Bulger
Oh,
case.
right.
If you think about it, like he was killing people while being an informant for the FBI.
Right.
It's just there's so many angles to this. International allies. I think he was giving information to multiple countries. And what does that mean?
Yeah, he was not loyal to anybody, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
was like the biggest, baddest bad guy that's ever bad guyed. He was bad all over the place. Do you think that Mike Johnson regrets saying that Trump was an informant?
Yeah, well, everything he says, he just has no credibility. He's another one where I'm like, I don't anything he says, I'm just like, What?
he him honestly, like, I I don't really watch cable television just because it's, like, it takes too long to get to the point for me. I can't be bothered, but seeing, like, him or Hakeem Jeffries or anybody in politics on there right now, I'm like, "Y'all are too media trained for me to even worry about what you have to say. I could just read your tweets, I guess, and it'll be the same." Um,
Yeah, no one's really speaking to me. Like, I don't feel
they're
like
not gonna
they're
talk to you,
speaking.
Tara. You get in there too deep.
Yeah,
I've
but
seen you
I mean,
interview
yeah,
people.
I don't know, when I that's probably why I'm just like, "This is so surface.
It's
This is
very
so
surface, but they're not going to folks like you because you would ask Michael Cohen, "Well, how do you know that?" And then
Yeah,
they freak
I
out
know.
because they're used to, like, a friendly press.
Yeah. Gotta hold truth to power, it doesn't matter who has it, because you know
That's
what?
right.
If you don't, you're gonna get egg on your face, because power corrupts absolutely, doesn't matter who has it. And
That's
I think the
right.
Epstein story tells you that too.
Yeah, for
There's a
sure.
it is a story of corruption on both sides. It is a story of injustice, but we can't treat one, group as the saviors. I mean, I do think there's a little bit of a savior complex going on right now with the Democratic Party because they don't have the cult of personality that Donald Trump has. And I think they
Right.
have to be aware of that they don't fall into the trap and then they end up investing into some sort of like figure that does not end up really leading them forward. That's my that's just my 2 cents, you know?
My 2 cents too. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, the Newsom stuff was funny the first 2 times, like, what are we actually doing, guys? What are we doing?"
I mean,
What
it's good
else?
to have a good communicator in the party.
Sure.
Right.
But
But
with, like, his memeing of Trump, I'm like, "It's funny, but what are we gonna do?" I don't know.
yeah. Ugh, God, what's happening in Chicago is horrible.
Dude. Yeah, other than Epstein, what other kind of stuff are you working on right now? Like, what are some things that you think are, like
Well, I've been kind of back to sort of figuring out what's going on with the midterms and,
yeah,
I interviewed Jeff Rowe, who's a Republican, sorry, strategist on my show, just because like, I think it's useful to listen to the other side, hear what they're thinking and hearing what they're saying. He thinks obviously the shutdown is going to have zero impact on the election. He
mm,
thinks that as long as they win the redistricting in California, that he believes that they have a good that they could hold on to the House. Um, and I was like, well, what about all the pain that farmers are feeling right now? And he said, short term pain. I'm like, I don't know that is going to translate to the midterms. I had James Carville on my show. It's about to drop today. So everybody should sign up to the Red Letter or the Tara
yes.
Palmieri show. He actually said Democrats are in the best place that they've been in a long time. He is a hopeful raging Cajun because, as you know, he can be sharp elbowed and he doesn't pull
Mhm,
back. He doesn't pull his punches, but he feels like the party is in a good place for once, as long as they don't
mm,
mess it up. And he thinks that like they'll win this shutdown fight and they'll get the subsidies on Obamacare. And he's excited. He said at one time, "I haven't seen a star in the party since 2012," and now he thinks that the party is filled with stars.
okay.
And yeah, he named Alyssa Slotkin and Andy Bashir. And I'm trying to think. Oh, you know, he didn't love the Kamala Harris book tour, which who can blame him? The
I
revenge
did.
tour. Yeah, and then, he had some words for David Hogg because, you know,
David
yeah.
Hogg hits too close to his bones, I think. Because from, like, my perspective, I see them as very similar. I have actually called David Hogg the James Carville of this generation,
Yeah,
and I think that that irks them about each other when it's like looking in too
no,
much of
they're
a mirror.
friends now. I
Well,
had
they're
them on
friends now, but yeah.
Yeah, I had them on my podcast and they were dueling, and
Yes.
they were like he was like, "Son," and he likes him a lot. The
Well,
only
that's
thing
why I
is
think they're
that
too similar sometimes. Yeah.
The only thing I will say, though, about David Hogg, and I don't know if you've seen this in the recent reporting, it's like he's not really spending the money in his super PAC effectively. I mean, the races that they're investing in, they're losing. Deja Fox lost in
Right.
Arizona
It's
by like
huge. Yeah.
a substantial amount. They gave the working family party $300,000, but then they're also like giving their employees like class pass, which is great, but it's a super PAC, grassroots money. Like this isn't it's not like you're going to Miriam Adelson and shaking her down. Like, so I think people were hoping that they could get more from him. But I do think this is probably partially a symptom of his age and running
Yeah.
a real organization. And And, as Carville said, you don't join the DNC and then try to take out the members that you're supposed to be supporting. So,
I know. It's gonna be a weird midterms. I've, not done anything electoral really this year because I was like, we need a break. There was a grief period for a lot of people after the Kamala stuff and like just the loss and like just like obviously I'm in the LGBTQ community and dealing with that a lot and like immigration. Like we're all seeing like the sort of like consequences of the Trump presidency on marginalized folks. And so it's been like trying to build community and take care of folks there and not burden people with like who's running for office and what's going on
yeah.
and like let's keep it up. And I'll probably try to stick to that well till March or April. Ideally, hopefully, maybe we even make it to the summer because boy, are people not wanting to hear it. And God help you, Democrats or anyone, if you send one of those donation texts from Nancy Pelosi. I just don't think, I think there are ways that it could get ruined, and some of it might be the messaging and it
Yeah.
might be the fundraising
Oh, they need to
situation.
get rid of the poobahs. That party is just too run by poobahs.
Yeah, they
Poo-poo the poobahs.
Yeah,
Get rid of
we have
blood.
to,
Just get
and
blood.
we just need new faces out there, and not because we don't respect the old places. I said this when I talked to Joe Biden a while back, which was like, it's not that I don't want you to be the president. I think you've been a great president. It's that I want you to be a mentor. I need like this generation of politicians who say they have so much wisdom, then be around. So when inevitably the next generation makes a mistake, you can help them out of it. You could be a safety net. You could be a little bit of a leader, but not the controller, like the wise old guru on the hill,
Yeah,
out of the way a little.
it's a bit condescending too to the voter. It makes,
Yeah.
who they are increasingly choosing more progressive candidates, as we saw with Zohran
Yeah.
Mamdani.
Yep.
And I think it's a sign that we don't trust your best judgment. We're going to
Mhm.
pick candidates for you because we know who's going to win, and that's all about winning. And then you're going to have to eat your, dog food.
Well, they're treating it like teacher's pet, and my argument was people vote for Lauren Boebert because she is a divorced survivor of domestic violence who has a troubled son, and that's something that women can relate to. That's something that my
Yeah,
mom's like, "Oh, yeah, I know, I don't like her policies really, but boy, that girl's been through a lot, huh?" And it's
yeah.
like, we don't have anybody our age to look at and go, "Okay, on a parallel level, there's some flawed characters out there who are doing their best and trying." It's like, no, Chuck Schumer is running for the
Yeah.
90th year in a row. You can tell me there's nobody else in New York City who could be a good senator? Come on. We gotta trust people.
Well, that's the other thing people complain about. They're like, it's too coastal, the
Yeah.
uh, the party, and it is true. I mean, you have minority leader uh, from New York, and you have a
They're
minority leader.
both
Yeah, so it's
from New York City even.
yeah, I know. So
Well, we'll see what's happening. Where are
I'm
you
not
at
a
in the world
doctor,
now?
okay? I just play one on
Yeah.
Substack. Okay,
You're in DC, right? Or are you in New York
I'm
now?
in New York right now.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. But,
It's
I'm
wild.
always there back and forth. I lived there for a long time, but,
Yeah.
uh, aw, all of my childhood friends are gonna be like, "Oh my god, you were on with V."
Be like, "Yeah, me and V talk. We text. We're
Yeah, I
pals.
know,
You
but,
can."
it's
Yeah.
way cooler to be on your show than any of, MS or
Oh, yeah.
CNN. I get way more messages from people when I'm on your show, which I love.
Good. I love
Yes.
because it's a fun place to hang out. I look at this
Yeah,
art, okay? It's a joyful place,
yeah.
and we mostly talk shit and speculate, and sometimes that's really healing. Somebody in the comments earlier was like, "Stop gossiping." I was like, "I will not. I will
Do
not.
not
This is a
gossip.
Substack live, okay? I'm not even, like, dressed. We're just here to hang and, like, talk
Yeah.
about what's going on like normal people, you know?"
Yeah, exactly. I when I saw your backdrop, that was I mean, I don't have the color scheme, but
Oh, yeah, it
I have
looks good,
a
though.
I have a purple dresser.
Yes. You gotta have a
I
little
have
color.
yeah, my
Picture.
uh, great great grandfather in Sicily with his brothers
I
behind me.
love.
Yeah, and then I have my when I left the New York Post, where I was a reporter in my 20s,
Yeah.
they said that it was impossible that I would leave to go to Europe to be a journalist. They put Palmieri's secret revealed, infidel. They said that I was going to Cuba to start the sex trafficking trade because they sent me there for
Oh
the
my
longest
god.
period of time to try to find a fugitive.
I
Um,
can't.
yeah, yeah. Like
You
I
gotta
was gonna
love your
find the fugitive.
haters.
It was like Asada Shakur. It was Tupac Shakur's
Yes,
Uh,
rest in power, Mrs. Sada Shakur.
yeah,
Yes.
well, she killed a cop in New Jersey, which is, like, the worst thing you can do at the New York
The
Post.
worst thing you can do in New Jersey for sure,
Yeah,
but
so
what an interesting life.
yeah, well, I never got to her for that exclusive interview, so
Um,
I just got food poisoning multiple times to the point where I was like, "Can I just please come home?" I
in
was like
Cuba,
I was there over Christmas. I didn't even spend Christmas with my family. I was like, "Can I come home, please?"
that job making boxes at the pizza place, getting your ass grabbed didn't seem so bad. It was
It's only been downhill from there.
there were so many times in this job where I'm like, "I can go back to the kitchen. I can go back. It'd be fine." Like,
Yeah.
it's safe there. It's safe there, which is scary to think. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Tara, it is always so fun chatting with you. We'll catch up on more stuff. I'm trying to just, like, be peaceful through the end of the year because shit is so bad, man. And I feel, like, guilty sometimes when I have to do the news at night because 'cause I'm like, "Man, I'm about to ruin everybody's sleep."
Mm.
But we must.
We must ruin their sleep.
We must. Me and Tara, if
Exactly what
there's
we do
one thing
best.
you can count on from us, we will ruin your day, okay? But it'll be stuff you have to know.
My friend was like, "Why don't we have a positive news day?" And I said, um, or a positive news app or something like that.
Oh,
Good
sure.
news. I was like, "But then it wouldn't be news because
Yeah,
when a plane lands, that's not news.
right.
It's
Yeah,
news when it doesn't land.
yeah,
And if you don't wanna know the truth, then go move to Russia."
yeah. We could I try to
Or
pepper
watch
in good
Newsmax.
stuff, but yeah, we can't have just because then people would be lulled into complacency and we'd all be called like, feds.
Wah, wah. There are a lot of
Dude,
people that would like us to just write positive news. They work in the White House.
they do. They do indeed. I mean, there's people out there. They'll do it. But all right, my friend, do
I
you have any good news? What's like one good thing that's happening in your life right now?
um, that's a good question.
You're in New York. That's always good.
Yeah, I don't wanna reveal too much, but,
Okay.
we hit 100K on YouTube. That
That's
was a big moment.
amazing. You got to get
Yeah.
your play button.
Yeah, when's my play button coming in? Can't
It'll
wait.
come soon. Yeah, they'll
Okay.
send you like an
Woo!
email and then you have to like apply for it.
That was my dog. She's desperate for a walk, and
Oh
so
my
she's
god, this
right
baby. Okay, well,
can't
let your
relax.
dog go on the walk. We will be back. Follow Tara, Red Letter and
Okay.
Tara Palmieri Show on YouTube.
Bye.
Bye,
Ciao.
friends.
Thanks.